Hello and welcome to Standard Voice Television Global News. Today, 2nd June 2026, equivalent to Islamic calendar, 16th Zulhijjah 1447 after the Hijrah of the Noble Prophet. In the headlines, President Tinubu unveils vessels and Lord's Navy sacrifice in safeguarding Nigeria's maritime. Arewa Consultative Forum knocks Tinubu's 3-year record, rejects Peter Obi's one-term tenure. Terrorists kill 17 villagers and loot shops in attack in Sokoto. On the international scene, Iran walks away from ceasefire meetings accusing US of violations. And on sport update, coach CHILLE says optimistic of Eagles' readiness to face Poland in friendly. Details of these and more will be coming to you in the news bulletin. Stand by. I am Sumaya Mustafa. The Nigerian Navy has been commended for its 7 decades of commitment and sacrifice in safeguarding Nigeria's maritime domain and protecting the nation's economic interest. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu gave the commendation at the 2026 International Fleet Review held at the Eco Atlantic Waterfront, Lagos, as part of events to commemorate the Navy's 70th anniversary. The Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, in a statement, Tinubu also commissioned the Nigerian naval vessels NNS Oloibiri, NNS Mambila, and NNS Gurara. The President, while reviewing officer at the event, applauded the Navy's achievements in combating piracy, crude oil theft, illegal fishing, maritime smuggling, and other transnational crimes in the Gulf of Guinea. He specifically lauded the Navy's sustained efforts against crude oil theft and maritime criminality, noting that these operations have significantly boosted oil production, improved national revenue, and strengthened investor confidence in Nigeria's maritime sector. The camp of the African Democratic Congress ADC presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar has attacked former secretary to the government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal, over his criticism of the party's presidential primary, accusing him of making unsubstantiated allegations and attempting to discredit a democratic process he could not influence. Lawal, announcing this resignation from the party on Monday, criticized Atiku for allegedly influencing the outcome of the party's primaries held across the country. However, in a statement issued on behalf of the former vice president by his senior special assistant on public communication, Frank Shuaibu, said the Atiku camp dismissed claims that the ADC presidential primary was manipulated, insisting that the exercise reflected the will of party members across the country. Lawal had questioned the credibility of the exercise and alleged that the process was compromised. The Atiku camp in response accused Lawal of attempting to malign both the party and its members without evidence and argued that Lawal had failed to provide any proof to support these allegations of electoral manipulation. The Arewa Consultative Forum, ACF, has described President Bola Tinubu's performance in the last 3 years in office as disorganized and rejected the one-term presidency initiative made by Peter Obi ahead of the 2027 general elections. ACF National Secretary Tukur Baba, in an interview, expressed disappointment with Tinubu, citing deteriorating insecurity, economic hardship, and government's failure to deliver concrete results despite changes in the nation's security architecture. He noted that banditry, terrorism, and kidnappings remain widespread across the country, while many Nigerians continue to struggle with rising living costs, multiple taxes, and inadequate electricity supply. Baba also argued that despite government claims of reforms and economic progress, ordinary citizens have experienced little improvement in their daily lives. The ACF scribe, while commenting on the 2027 presidential race, faulted Peter Obi's repeated pledge to serve only one term and return power to the North if elected president. Baba described the pledge as unnecessary, undemocratic, and inconsistent with constitutional principles, arguing that power rotation is a political arrangement rather than a constitutional requirement. Moving on, Zamfara State government has applauded President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Mohammed Matawalle, over the improved security during the Eid al-Kabir celebrations in the state. Some residents who spoke with journalists in Gusau, Gauran Namoda, and Talata Mafara and other parts of the state expressed satisfaction with the relative peace witnessed during the festive period. noting that many families and businesses celebrated without fear of attacks or disruptions. The development is coming amid intensified military operations and renewed security strategies by the federal government aimed at tackling banditry, kidnapping and other criminal activities that have plagued Zamfara and Northwest states for several years. Zamfara state has remained one of the states most affected by armed banditry, with many rural communities previously experiencing attacks, kidnappings and displacement of residents. A political leader from Maru local government area, Idris Abubakar Dongulbi, said the interventions and support being championed by Defense Minister have also contributed significantly to the improved situation in the state. The Kogi state government has cancelled the Echene festival in Ebira land with immediate effect over security concerns. The Commissioner for Information and Communications, Kingsley Fanwo, who made the announcement, cited credible security intelligence that activities tied to the festival could threaten public peace and lead to a breakdown of law and order in parts of Kogi Central Senatorial District. He added that Governor Ahmed Ododo had approved the suspension of the interest of maintaining peace and public safety. The government, while reaffirming respect for cultural heritage and the role of traditional festivals, emphasized that the protection of lives and property remain its foremost responsibility. The Commissioner also warned that anyone found promoting activities connected to the suspended festival would face the full weight of the law, while reaffirming the state government's commitment to safeguarding lives and property. Fanwo called on traditional rulers, community leaders, opinion leaders, youth groups and residents of affected communities to cooperate with security agencies and support efforts aimed at maintaining peace and harmony. The federal government has rearranged to Kurmamu over alleged terrorist negotiator during the Abuja to Kaduna train attack hostages in 2022 on an amended 17-count terrorism charge. Mamu, who was rearranged before Justice Mohammed Umar of the Federal High Court in Abuja, pleaded not guilty. It was gathered that Mamu, who was arrested on September 7, 2022 by the Egyptian security officials at the Cairo International Airport, was earlier arraigned on a 10-count charge bordering on terrorism financing. However, the prosecution amended the counts by adding more offenses, including unlawful possession of firearms without a valid license and money laundering charges. When the case was called on Monday, David Casway, an assistant director of the Federal Ministry of Justice, informed the court that an amended charge had been filed and served on the defense counsel. He said the charge was dated and filed on May 26. Shortly after the counts were read to him, the prosecution lawyer began cross-examination and the judge adjourned the matter until June 8 for its continuation. The news is coming to you on Standard Voice Television Global News. Still to come in the news. Terrorists kill 17 villagers and loot shops in attack in Sokoto State. And on the international scene, Iran walks away from ceasefire meetings, accusing US of violations. And on sport update, Coach CHILLE says optimistic of Eagles' readiness to face Poland in friendly. Details of these and more will be coming to you after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back from that short break, and now the news continues. Bandits have reportedly killed 17 villagers, including 7 visitors who had traveled for INT'L celebrations in an attack on Dongulbi community in Tureta local government area of Sokoto State. Residents said the attackers, numbering in their hundreds and riding on motorcycles, attacked the community, firing indiscriminately, looting shops and forcing villagers to flee into nearby forest. According to local sources, the gunmen were believed to have moved from Bagega village in Zamfara State through Barayar Zaki in Bukuyum local government area before spending the night in Gizaza village ahead of the attack. A resident who requested anonymity for security reasons said the gunmen entered Dongulbi and opened fire on villages. According to residents, the bandits remained in the community for several hours after the attack, preventing villagers from recovering and burying the dead until late in the evening. The spokesperson of the Sokoto State Police Command, DSP Ahmed Rufai, confirmed he was aware of the incident, adding that security operators were working to restore normalcy and contain the situation. Moving on, the Nigerian Union of Teachers, NUT, has commenced a nationwide protest over the continued captivity of pupils and teachers kidnapped from schools in Ahoro, Esile, and Yawota communities in Orire local government area of the state. This is as public schools across Oyo State were shut down on Monday, compliance to NUT directives. The union's protest coincided with demonstrations in Oyo and Ogun State, with residents, civil society groups, and labor activists demanding the immediate release of the abductees and urged government at all levels to intensify efforts to tackle insecurity. NUT Chairman Lagos State Chapter Akintoye Hassan said the union deliberately chose not to shut down schools nationwide despite the security concerns. He stressed that the schools will remain open in most states except Oyo, where authorities had ordered a temporary closure following the recent abductions. It will be recalled that on May 15, 2026, armed men attacked 3 schools: Community Grammar School, Baptist Nursery and Primary School, and LA Primary School in the Esile and Yawota communities of Orire local government area, taking pupils and teachers captive. Moving on, residents of Borno State have expressed worry over the federal government's silence since the kidnapping of 42 primary and junior secondary school students in Musa community, Askira Uba local government area of the state. They noted that the government had prioritized a similar incident in Oyo State, where pupils and teachers were kidnapped, while downplaying the abduction in the state. Chairman of the Network of Civil Society Organizations in the state, Abubakar Suleiman, said the federal government is not fair to the victims of both incidents. He decried that the federal government visited Oyo State with a high-powered delegation, including the National Security Advisor, Minister of Defense, Chief of Staff to the President, among others, with a helicopter and landed at the local government where the abduction took place. A prominent political analyst in the state, Abubakar Kareto, also echoed similar sentiments while condemning the attacks. And on the international news, Iran state-affiliated outlet Tasnim News Agency says Iran walks away from ceasefire meetings, accusing U.S. President Donald Trump of ceasefire violations. The Islamic Republic also disclosed that it would move to close the Strait of Hormuz and stop exchanging messages with the U.S. through intermediaries. The report pointed to Israel's military operations in Lebanon against the Iranian-backed militia Hezbollah as a violation of ceasefire with the United States. According to the report, an Israeli ceasefire in Lebanon is a precondition for the ceasefire between Iran and the U.S., and that the ceasefire has now been violated on all fronts. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, in a post on X, said Lebanon is included in the ceasefire with the U.S. and that any violation on one front shall be considered a violation of it across all fronts. Still in the news, the United States and Iran traded strikes as negotiations between the two sides stalled, and Tehran again insisted any peace deal must also cover Israel's escalating offensive into Lebanon. Weeks of indirect discussions marked by stark threats and several waves of airstrikes have so far failed to agree an end to the war or the reopening of Strait of Hormuz, the key shipping channel of Gulf oil and gas. The latest exchange of fire coincided with Israel expanding its offensive into Lebanon, with Prime Minister Netanyahu vowing to push deeper into the country and instructing the military to strike terror targets in the southern district of Beirut. The United States has backed its allies' operation in Lebanon against the Iran-backed group Hezbollah, while still trying to come to an agreement with Iran to end the war it launched in late February with strikes on Tehran, reopen Hormuz, and impose controls on Iran's nuclear program. And lastly, on sport update, coach Eric Schelle says Super Eagles ready for the international friendly match against Poland. The Malian coach has 18 players in camp after some regular members of the team, including Victor Osimhen and Ademola Lookman, pulled out of the game and next week's clash with Portugal. Schelle said the Eagles will go all out for a win despite the absence of some of the key stars. The encounter will hold at the stadium of Metski Roklawu in the city of Wroclaw on Wednesday, and the Nigerian side will be up against Portugal in another friendly next week Wednesday. Finally on the news, here's a recap of the top stories again. President Tinubu unveils vessels and Lord's Navy sacrifice in safeguarding Nigeria's maritime. Ariwa Consultative Forum knocks Tinubu's 3-year record, rejects Peter Obi's one-term tenure. Terrorists kill 17 villagers and loot shops in attack in Sokoto. On the international scene, Iran walks away from ceasefire meetings accusing US of violations. And on sport update, coach CHILLE says optimistic of Eagles' readiness to face Poland in friendly. And that's the size of the news today. On behalf of the news editor Ilya Adamu-Auta and the production crew, I am Sumaya Mustafa, thanking you and bye for now.